반갑습니다. 저는 사회를 맡은 연수대학교 문정입니다. 오늘 I'm the only person who will be speaking Korean. You guys talk English.
I can do it Korean.
그래서 오늘 저희들이 다룰 주제는 그렇습니다. 동북아 지정학의 미래에서 현안과 담론 이 주제로 할 건데요. 뭐 지정학 이슈가 너무나 큰 현안 문제이기 때문에 근데 저는 영어로 할 때? 네.
Sorry.
It is very ironic how this idea of geopolitics once it disappeared from the lexicon of international politics, because Hitler, his Lebensraum idea was a reflection of geopolitical discourse. Hitler lost, and then geopolitics or geopolitical discourse was regarded as some kind of demonic message in the field of international relations. But all of a sudden, this idea of geopolitics is coming back. Starting from the, Mahan is coming back, the specter of Mahan is coming back, specter of McKinley is coming back. And I'm, as an IR scholar, I'm also confused. Is geopolitics real or contrived? Why all of a sudden Washington is paying great attention to the idea of international maritime safety, sea lanes of communication? Why China? If I meet the Chinese, military officers and scholars like Jeju Feng, they are all talking about geopolitical discourses, clash of maritime power versus continental power, and etc. I hope in our session can address those issues. Okay. And what I will do is I'll give 5 minutes each to the panelists. After that, we'll have just, discussion among ourselves. And I will try to set aside about 30 minutes for Q&A with the floor. Okay. Let me introduce the persons here. My immediate left is Professor Okonoki Masao. Let us give a big applause to Professor Okonoki. He is a Professor Emeritus of the Faculty of Law of Keio University. He is the #1 expert on the Korean Peninsula issues in Japan, but he is one of the leading experts on the Korean affairs throughout the world, and it is very lucky for us to have a Professor Okonoki. And next to him is John Dillary. John is Associate Professor, Graduate School of International Studies. He did doctoral dissertation on modern China, Qing Dynasty, and he got his PhD from Yale, and his co-authored book with Obi Shell, Power and Wealth in China, was chosen as one of the top 20 best books in the world by New York Times 4 years ago. Therefore, he's a very sensational writer. And now he has recently diverted his attention to the Korean Peninsula issues. His most recent article in Foreign Affairs is one of the most well-read on North Korea and inter-Korean relations. Let's give a big applause to John Dillary. You all know Professor Zhu Feng. He used to be professor at the Beijing University School of International Studies. But he's so talented that Chinese government diverted him to Nanjing University. Nanjing University has set up the National Level Research Center for South China Sea. Now he's heading the South China Sea. And I think that Zhu Feng's relocation to Nanjing University is a reflection of Chinese geopolitical thinking. I don't know, how the hell the Chinese government was paying attention to South China Sea, but all of a sudden, his institute has one of the largest research money. And he is allowed to have more than 30 research, professors. How many did you fill out?
How many?
How many lives to travel? Step.
So far it's
11. He cannot spend his money. Anyway, let us give a big applause to the Professor. And the last, but not the least, is Professor Park Lee. Professor Park Lee is Dean of Graduate School of International Studies at Seoul National University. He is one of the leading experts in Japan. Okay? But he spent more time in Japan than in South Korea. Okay? That is why he has been dubbed as a pro-Japanese scholar in South Korea. But he's a student of Gerald Curtis at Columbia University. But with help of Professor Curtis, he has cultivated such amazing human networks in Japan. He knows everybody from Abe all the way down to Abe, Yachi, Sugiyama, and Kishida, and all the way down to the beautiful ladies in Akasaka Nichome. Therefore, he knows all walks of life in Japan. It's great to have Professor Park Lee. Let's give him applause. Okay, I will give 5 minutes each. Okay, I will follow the Confucian seniority. Therefore, I will start with Professor Okonomi.
Okay. Well, actually, I have to speak in English, but getting old is more and more difficult to speak English, so I'm speaking Korean. 한국말은 젊었을 배웠기 때문에 머릿속에 있기 때문에 말하기가 좀 쉬운 것 같습니다. 그래서 저는 한국말로 이야기하겠습니다. 오늘 우리가 이용하는 건 지오폴리틱스라는데 사실 아까 영어하고 이야기를 했는데 저는 지오폴리틱스라는 게 전체적 이론으로서 완성된 것이라고 생각하지 않습니다. 그 전체가 지리하고는 아주 밀접한 관계에 있기는 하되 그래서 머리 좋은 사람이 그 관계를 열심히 생각해서 어느 정도의 상식이라는 것은 상식적 결론이 내리겠습니다. 그래서 지오폴리틱스라는 게 좀 더 높은 코먼센스 같은 것이라 그게 뜻이 있습니다만 예를 들면 숫자적으로 그것을 중요한다든가 그건 아주 어려운 것 같습니다. 그러나 오늘 동아시아의 지오폴리틱스 이야기를 하려면 한반도 지오폴리틱스 없이는 이야기가 힘들 것 같습니다. 우선 우리가 역사상 1945년 여름에 일본이 2차 대전했을 때 한반도가 38선으로서 분파를 청정당했는데 그것은 대륙에서 오는 소련군하고 해안에서 올라오는 미군 그 사이에서 결정된 조금은 경계성이었다 그렇게 생각할 수가 있습니다. 나는 그때 이야기를 지금 책으로 써 있는데 사실 2차 대전이 어떻게 전해졌는가에 따라서 그 소문은 어떻게 될 수가 있었습니다. 특히 마지막 단계에 있어서는 원자 폭탄이 언제 완성되는가에 따라서 손이 올라갈 수도 있었고 내려올 수도 있었고 아마도 8월 포츠담 베를린 회담에서 대남 청야 전날에 그 워싱턴에서 정보가 와서 원복 실험 선언했다. 그 이야기가 나왔는데 그게 몇 달 이전 이야기면 혹은 몇 달 이후 이야기면 한반도 의미가 완전히 달라질 것이죠. 몇 달 이전이면 그 소련군이 돌아올 시간이 없습니다. 몇 달 후이면 미군 올림픽 작전을 해서 거주 상륙 작전을 하는 것이기에 바빠서 한번도 관심이 없었습니다. 그래서 그런 시간적인 타임적인 이야기가 많이 영향한 것이 이것이 지오폴리틱스의 하나의 전형적인 예였다고 할 수가 있습니다. 그런데 원자 폭탄이라는 게 아주 근 5분뿐이었죠. 5분이죠. 아주 큰 영향을 그 후에 한국 역사에 대해서 준 것이요. 김해 기념 핵의 상호 억지 이론으로서 한반도에서 전쟁이 일어났기는 하되 그 이후 일어나지 않았습니다. 미소중 대극 핵을 가지고 여기에서 하나의 핵 균형이 완성되었기 때문에 그렇겠죠. 그래서 대극 간의 전쟁이 일어나지 못했습니다. 그런데 지금 나와 있는 핵 문제, 북핵 문제는 왜 그렇게 심각하고 어려운가를 생각하면 그게 대륙의 핵이 아니기 때문입니다. 러시아가 가지는 핵이나 중국이 가지는 핵에 대해서 일본 사람은 그렇게 무서워하지 않습니다. 그것은 상호 억지라는 이론 위에 있는 핵이기 때문에 사용하지 못하고 안 한다. 그렇게 생각하기 때문입니다. 그런데 지금 북한이 가지고 있는 핵은 분단된 나라, 분단 극화의 핵이기 때문에 남북 간의 제재 경쟁, 제재 대립이라는 것과 미처한 관계가 있는 그런 핵이 그래서 북한 정권이 어떻게 앞으로 되는가에 따라서 그 핵을 사용할 수도 있는 핵이고 핵이 아닌가. 예를 들면 북한 제재가 명령할 때 그 사람을 가만히 명령하는가, 핵을 사용해서 그 후에 명령하는가, 그런 것을 생각하기 때문에 아주 무섭게 느끼는 것입니다. 내 말을 끝내야 하는데, 그런데 오늘 가장 제가 하고 싶은 말은 이것입니다. 즉 한반도의 평화라고 하고 비핵화하는 것이, 평화와 비핵화는 아주 밀접한 관계에 있어서 안에 상등이 닿던 것이기 때문에 하나만 해서 해결할 수는 없습니다. 평화 없이 핵 문제를 해결할 수는 없다. 그렇게 이론적으로는 들어보시라고 생각합니다. 평화 없는 상태에서 북한 핵을 비핵화를 하려면은 이게 어떻게 됩니까? 전쟁도 일어날 수 있다는 얘기가 되겠습니다. 그런데 일단 평화가 남북 간에 정착되면은 핵은 필요 없게 되는 것이기 때문에 단기간에는 비핵화를 완성하기는 아주 어렵지만 우선 평화 공정 체제를 남북 간에 만들어야 한다는 얘기가 되겠습니다. 그래야 나중에 핵포기도 있을 수 있다. 그런 게 핵 공정 남북 분단 그런 지역을 비슷하다 생각합니다. 조금 시간 지났을 때 미안합니다.
네, 감사합니다. 감사합니다. Professor Jeju, 5 minutes, okay?
Okay, so first of all, thanks Professor Moon for inviting me. It's really my big honor.
coming and being with you. So a couple of points I'd like to share with everybody. First of all, geopolitics, of course, is there. No one can just, intently say geopolitics is disappearing, or now it's back to some sort of back burner. Geopolitics is always a defining factor. The reason is geography is a place. So I think, I'm also a professor of international relations. So geopolitics, of course, in all the terms, is a defining factor for a country's security, diplomatic thinking, and making, policy making. And the problems in today's world, in the 21st century, I think the defining factor now is multiple. It's increasing in a way very, very dramatic. For example, it's not just the geopolitical consideration will overwhelm some sort of a regional players for their thinking, but then we will see the geo-economical factor. For example, between China and Korea, I think the economic independence and also just risen to some sort of unbelievable high level. Even China's tourists just on the cut and the increase, but the province of economic relations remain very strong and massive. No one can just get it very, very daily and along. So China, Korean, SADA issue is some sort of big challenge. Yes, tourist flowing is declining, but the province, if we look at our economic bonds, it remain very strong. Then another very interesting factor is China-Japan relations is getting very, very bad. But the number of the China tourists to Japan is unbelievably high. It's double than the 3 years ago. So if you look around, have a scenic, sightseeing in Shinjuku or wherever it is, commercial area in Tokyo, everywhere you will come across a lot of Chinese. Then another factor also is very important. It's not just a geo-economical, it's a geo-social. For example, Hanyu now is a leading, Korean cultural storm, just hitting China in a way unstoppable. Then we will see Chinese Americans now in some sort of strategic rivalry. How many Chinese young kids now studying in the U.S.? China's a leading country for overseas students to the American universities, colleges. Back to the, last March, the number of the Chinese students who officially registered in the American university and colleges now is rose to nearly 1/3 of a million. You can imagine how many Chinese now is flocking to the U.S. and studying there. So then I think that kind of the massive number of the Chinese students will be another defining factor for future power relations between Beijing and Washington. So then geopolitics is there, but in parallel, then we will see a couple of very, very fascinating tendencies as some sort of effect factor is really getting bigger, getting broader. So then we have to examine geo-economical, geo-social connections. Now, so far, is sweeping through the region. But the problem is, another point is, what factor really keep the geopolitics simmering? What some sort of new drivers to get the geopolitics to say unpredictably, just taking effects? In East Asia, I think it's a really, really very special place. Then we will have some sort of textbook like geopolitical interactions in the region, because for the East Asia, history is not over. Nationalism is not over. Then another factor is ideology is not over. So then, if we're looking over the world, there's no place at all which could match the East Asia for some sort of, particularly overblowing effects of geopolitics. So that's why I think that East Asia is not just, become some sort of a very, vulnerable place. due to the power shift or due to some sort of new status of a powerhouse in the world. Most important for me is history is now over, ideology is now over. So then this place is deserving some sort of special examination on how geopolitical competition could be well managed. It's some sort of big, I think, task force, not for China, for US, but for Korea, for Japan, and other players. So conclusively, geopolitically, East Asia is particularly volatile. It's increasingly unpredictable, simply or fundamentally for a couple of reasons. First is what is going on mostly impressively in the region is, we say, some sort of a power shift. This is still far from power transition, but power shift is going. And second is unresolved territorial disputes. Then the third is unfinished, we say, history problems, so containing political identities, and even very contentious patriotic sentiments, whether keep China, Korea, Japan apart. But presently, where we see the future's trajectory is some sort of mixed story, for example. So then those questions. What kind of factor to stop the China from getting more cooperative and more helpful? I don't think it's a geopolitical consideration. So far, I think the ironical situation is every time China getting more hesitant to still keep the DPRK within the Chinese arms, there's some sort of such a geopolitical effect vis-a-vis China is getting worse. For example, Saudis deployment. Of course, it's undermining China's national interest. Now, how to resolve the Saudis, China should getting more reactive, right? So I see the leading factor to either China still, we say, shaky in some sort of policy thinking and making is domestic factor. Because it rarely occurred to me, very dramatically, some sort of a critical safety out of the collapse of North Korea. There's still some sort of a leading barrier for some Chinese leaders to have in mind. Let me stop here.
Thank you. So
Thank you. The discourse on geopolitics never disappeared on the Korean Peninsula, especially in South Korea. We always talk about four great powers, or Saudi Hangu, when we talk about the peninsula issue. But the reason why the discourse on geopolitics is reviving these days a bit more is the kind of shifts in great power relationships surrounding us. As Jeju just said, power shift is taking place, and some kind of power competition is coming back again in this part of the world. So I think a leading engine of this is coming from the rise of China and the assertive external strategy of China that China is taking. I think that Jeju may have the points about it, but so this we have to readjust to the kind of to the rise of China. That's one reason, and then Japan is proactively taking a proactively defensive transformation, especially in coping with China's rise. So, and then it is interpreted as a move toward Japan becoming normal country. So that's a kind of another kind of new phenomena that we witnessed. And then especially after Trump. So whether United States is truly anchored in this region is kind of sometimes doubtful, unpredictable, unstable. So that gives a kind of a lot of suspicion and discourse about the changing geopolitics in this region. I think it's not that is curious, but still, especially in Korea, we feel this geopolitical discourse a little bit more because this is the place, the Korean Peninsula is the place where so-called the continental plate and the maritime plates are meeting. So we have to do something about it. So that's the reason why we are talking more and more about the geopolitics. Then, are we heading to a collision course in this region among powers? Well, I think that's a very limited, in a sense that one Jeju, my colleague, once said that we have cold peace in East Asia. It's not a real stable peace, but cold peace based on very strategic balance, in a sense that it is a peace and stability standing upon a heavily armed country. So that has a danger still, but as many countries in this region are heavily armed, so they do not take any preemptive action. So that's the reason why we can remain stable. So that's the cold peace. And as Yukong also said, it's a kind of, we have a situation of interdependence through global production and then the investment network. Very interwoven, intertwined each other. So even though China is retaliating us, it's targeting some sector, not every sector. So the semiconductor is not touched upon. So Hyundai Automobile and the Lotte Duty Free Shop is heavily hit, but not all the sectors, because they know that there is a kind of interdependence between countries. And the same is true between Japan and China between Japan and Korea. And another relatively comforting sign is that we have relatively effectively working governments in this region. Still, people have trust in governments. And so as an extension, we see little signs of massive civil war, massive civil revolt, or massive migration or massive rebellion. So the people still are moving across borders without big the dangers or personal security. So I think so that's the reason why we are not heading to collision course. But the only exception of all this trend is North Korea. North Korea, they are pursuing military first and then always provoking us with nuclear and missile launch. And they are very isolated and they are not tied up with this trends of interdependence that we have and we take normal. Also, still people are fleeing from the country, massive refugees from North Korea. So that's a kind of a true and exceptional trend. So I think in order to overcome and stabilize and then the region, I think first of all, I think we have to address North Korea question very properly in a strategic way. North Korea is not just the kind of Korean issue, American issue, Chinese issue. It's a whole regional issue. It's like a kind of black hole. If you do not address this issue carefully and strategically, nothing can be done. So that's the reason why you have to address the North Korea issue. And in order to do that, I think Professor Okonogi's point was exactly well taken, that peace and denuclearization should go together. And in order to do that, I think the sticks and carrots approach still works. I think in order to bring them back to the negotiation table for denuclearization, I think we have to continue to pressure and put sanctions collectively, not to make North Korea collapse, but bring them to the negotiation table in a serious way. But at the same time, we have to give some incentives for them to believe by themselves that, oh, this is reliable and then course, and then we can create peace and stability of the Korean Peninsula. So we should give a kind of signs of comfort to North Korea at the same time. So how we can mix them, what kind of the priority and sequencing, that should be a kind of we need a strategic coordination among nations. And another thing we have to do is a kind of bring back a trilateral cooperative mechanism firmly in this region. Trilateral means here Japan, China, and Korea. China, I think China should, rather than showing an angry face toward the neighboring countries, to show us charming offensive rather than angry offensive. Not only offensive, as they kind of charm offensive to neighboring countries, and then show that China is willing to preserve and maintain liberal international order together. I think because of Trump, somehow Xi Jinping became a champion of globalization. So I think China should take advantage of this chance very cleverly. And then also Japan, I think Japan trying to encircle or contain China too much. So that's the reason why the bilateral relationship is very tough. So I think the Japan and China threat perception should be reduced. And the South Korean challenge is how to make a kind of diplomatic balance between Japan and China altogether, rather than tilting toward one side. So that's a kind of a big challenge. So I'll stop there and then we'll discuss more after discussions.
John?
Thank you, Professor Moon. So in wrestling with your question for our panel, I was thinking more about the United States. So in my 5 minutes, that's what I'll focus on, both very broadly in terms of geopolitics and its return and geopolitical discourse and thinking, and then a little more specifically about Donald Trump, the Trump administration, and what it means for our question. And it just strikes me, listening to Toli as well, how, and Okunogi-san said earlier, Korea is the definition of geopolitics. And in some ways, the United States has been this sort of anti-geopolitics. Ironically, because of its geography, the United States coming out of World War II with the combination of others suffering so much in that war, and then the United States being at a sort of peak of economic progress, and its geography. Korea is the shrimp among whales. America was the whale among shrimp, particularly after the 19th century wars of expansion and consolidation, including out into the Asia Pacific, including as far as the Philippines. So, the United States and the leaders, the presidents of the United States, were able to transcend a lot of the things that we associate with geopolitics and imagine and actually implement the things we describe as liberal internationalism or other variations on that, and create structures and create norms that put those things into the world. And we can see that in the history of this region since 1945. So in a sense, the United States' power and its geography created the luxury of going beyond geopolitical, a kind of geopolitical attitude. So that comes to my second point about Trump. I mean, that's what makes this moment so unsettling for Asian people, Asian countries and leaders, because we know that this more than geopolitical world that's been created in this region, whether we like the United States or not, it was U.S. power that backed that up. And it was U.S. governments committed to those principles that established them as foundations for not how everything works here, but some core basic elements of how things work, again, beyond geopolitics. So Donald Trump, I mean, it's an interesting question. It's one of the questions I was thinking of. Is Trump geopolitical? Is he a manifestation of this return, revenge, Kaplan called it, right? Revenge of the geopolitical. Is Trump a geopolitical actor and force? I saw, it was probably just a tweet, but Stephen Walt said, Trump is not a realist, which would be the geopolitical category in IR terms. He's not a liberal. I think we have no debate on that. He's not a constructivist. He's a narcissist. And he's the new IR school of narcissism. I don't know, measuring Trump and what he says and what he's doing so far, I think you could make a case there is a strong sort of geopolitical element. And I think the clearest way to make that case is how he rejects liberal internationalism. And I don't know time zone-wise when it happened or if it's happened yet, but he has just or is about to, pull the United States out of the Paris Agreement on climate change. His first act, his first day in office, he pulled the United States out of TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which was a core element in kind of the next phase of this liberal internationalist approach to to the Asian Pacific order. So he's really acting on his rejection of liberal internationalism. I think that's the point. It's not just Trumpian rhetoric. This is real stuff that he's doing. And another way to think about Trump in terms of geopolitics is geopolitics, in its narrower definition, is about geography, right? It's about place, and that is, as Ju Feng said, that's destiny. That's kind of the core elemental aspect of international politics. So another interesting question, maybe we can explore more, is what is Donald Trump's concept of place, of the world? How does he look at the world, and how does he think of America's role in the world? And in terms of Asia, I would say Donald Trump doesn't. I'm not sure he has a concept of Asia or the Asia Pacific. I'm not sure that's a meaningful sort of rubric for him, and let alone trying to strengthen the liberal internationalist kind of pillar of Asia Pacific. I'm not sure Asia Pacific itself is meaningful, or Asia, or even Northeast Asia. If you look at North Korea, which we'll be talking about, so far his approach to North Korea has not been regional whatsoever. It's a three pieces. It's the U.S., China, and North Korea. South Korea actually hasn't been in the picture at all. That might change when he meets Moon Jae-in. But so far, it's the North Korea problem is a problem to be solved by China. And I'm giving them 100 days to solve it, and if they fail, then I'm going to solve it myself. The United States is going to solve it. So you can see in how he's treating what is agreed is one of the top foreign policy priorities of the administration, and top one in Asia, is in terms of the sense of place, it's a rejection of any kind of regional concept. The North Korea problem is not embedded in something Northeast Asia. It's just one state, North Korea, that's a big problem that another state, China, needs to solve. And if it doesn't, the United States is going to solve it. So that strikes me as a kind of geopolitical mentality. I'm not sure it's chess. The classic thing we talk about is Americans play chess and Asians play Weiqi or Go or Paduk, right? That may be useful as a metaphor, but I'm not sure chess is a good metaphor for Donald Trump and his geopolitics. We might want to think of other games that he's playing. There may be more of a American football kind of game. And again, it's sort of geopolitical in its way. And if you describe him as a coach of a football team, he's beefing up a defensive line, piece through strength. And no one is going to break through that line. No one is going to touch the quarterback. So it's not that offensive right now, but it's kind of lock this down and hold this line. And then you've got an occasional deep pass like bombing Syria somewhere out of nowhere. And we can continue to expect those sorts of actions. But that might be another way to think about Trump. And then very lastly, in just a minute, I would say we need to understand this leader, and I didn't talk about his administration. We can talk about that. That's a whole debate to what extent he can be buffeted by others around him. But we also have to we have to be careful of the fallacy that Trump equals the United States of America. There is massive resistance against what Trump is doing. And, in some ways, and I may be overly influenced by watching the spectacular events in South Korea, of the way in which the impeachment process of Park Geun-hye has strengthened, Moon Jae-in, and created this strengthened, revived, liberal approach. We'll see how long it lasts. A lot of these things, these liberal internationalist elements of America's attitude to the world, which has been such a core of its identity since 1945, they could be strengthened whenever this thing ends with Trump. And so, now maybe Asia won't want the United States back, and the world won't want the United States back. Maybe people say, actually, it was kind of better when you guys retreated. But, he is one president. He has a max of 8 years, and he could have 8 months. And so it's important to also put that in context in terms of what it will mean for the historic role, ultimately, of the United States in the world and in the region.
제가 한 20분 정도는 제가 질문을 우리 패널리스트끼리 한 다음에 그다음 플로어로 넘기겠습니다. John, I have one question. Think about Robert Kaplan, who wrote the book titled Revenge of Geography. He's the first guy who popularized the concept of first island chain, second island chain, and coming crash between China and the US in East China Sea and South China Sea. Since Robert Kaplan wrote the piece in Foreign Affairs which summarized his book, that really triggered geopolitical discourses throughout Asia. What do you think of Robert Kaplan? Does America see any threat coming from China in South China Sea and East China Sea? And do you see China is transforming itself into an expansionist force into the maritime area? Because, the US used to make a division of labor, okay? China, continental power. US, maritime power. There's peaceful coexistence between the two, but as China becomes stronger and more prosperous, China is delving into the maritime arena. But all these kinds of logic, do you think it is real or contrived?
Well, I don't know, real or contrived, but my sense of the American, foreign policy establishment and the experts, including those who you would consider, even panda huggers, I think their views have evolved pretty much along the lines of Kaplan's book, and he was a popularized version of something that was already going on within that community, I would say, that kind of brought it out to a bigger foreign policy community. I think that book was 2011 or so, and most I think American experts would talk about roughly 2008 as the turning point where China, we saw this new China. And of course it tracks with the United States feeling weaker. A lot of this, I'm not sure we talked about this, and of course it's key to Trump. A lot of the revival of geopolitical thinking in the United States is a manifestation of America's self-perception and its anxiety over its weakness.
Okay, let me then ask you a follow-up question. Is the pivot to Asia reflection of geopolitical response to Chinese rise?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
But again, I would add, just in terms of the first point I was making about the pivot was, it combined this geopolitical, counter-response to China's rise with all of that classic liberal internationalist elements, so it built that in, even though what ended up really happening with the pivot was not much, and what did happen was mostly the military side of it. It was designed to include this major diplomatic push, and of course to include TPP. I mean, that was one of the core elements of the pivot, which is what made it more than geopolitics.
Against whom?
Against China, absolutely.
China is the #1 trading state in the world. How can the trading state threaten sea lanes of communication?
Yeah, that's harder. I would have to be an American official to answer that one, because I'm telling you their logic. I'm not saying I agree with the logic. I sort of agree with you. That was a logical contradiction in the pivot from the beginning. And I saw the American effort to sell the pivot, and especially in terms of South China Sea, that South Korea, you need to get on board with us. If you don't take a stand in South China Sea, China's going to close these lanes, and it's going to hurt you. And the South Korean response I heard was, why would they do that? It's going to hurt them too.
No, then let me ask this question. Okay. This entire geopolitical fiasco started with Admiral Liu Hua-qing's long-term naval plan, PLA naval plan. Okay, and Liu Hua-qing argued that China should develop naval power to protect the first island chain by that report came in 1985. By year 2000, first island chain. Year 2020, second island chain. And 2050, China having a deep sea ocean, and competing with the U.S. in the 5 oceans of the world. Okay. Is this Liu Huaqing's vision or grand strategy, is it real or just a fictional work by brilliant Chinese admiral? And then let me add one more point. Does China have that kind of naval ambition to go all the way to the world?
Okay, so very good question. Before I respond, let me do a little bit complimentary to the last question for John. For example, so what does the geopolitical thinking or theory mean for scholars and policy makers? So my view is geopolitics is not just some sort of, theory. Geopolitics is some sort of, indispensable part of policy narrative. Not just in the West, but in Asia as well. Now we will see, for example, how to look at rising China or re-emerging China. Of course, geopolitics is most important lens. It's most important prism. Through where or some sort of a China's concept, just evolved around. So then, it's also some sort of, puzzle for the Chinese scholars like me, because we consider, for example, so when China's rise, then we signaling will be peaceful. But my counter-argument is always this: is there any possibility for China can after non-peaceful rise? My answer is totally no. That's the problem is in the real world. Then some sort of such an interaction going also very, very, it's not just contradictory, but also very, arguing. For example, so you mentioned pivot.
No, just look at the Chinese behavior in China, South China Sea. Okay, you're building military bases in those, artificial islands and etc. All others think there is really, abrasive and expansionist, behavior of China. And since you are the head of the, research center in South China Sea, how do you saying that China peaceful rise, okay, peaceful development? China never resort to, so-called, aggressive military means, but the behavior you show, China showed through the South China Sea, a lot of neighboring countries feel threat coming from China.
You're totally right. I see the Chinese island reclamation and reconstruction in South China Sea is a very big signal of China that like to expand its maritime presence, because China is not immune from some sort of, such a geopolitical impulse. Then we will see today, one of the leading challenge for my country is how impulsive China could be over some sort of, such a geopolitical theory or geopolitical consumption. But the problem is, my answer is, some sort of island reclamation represent such a geopolitical impulse will be lasting, will be going more bigger, or just some sort of a sequential and sporadic. It's not just some sort of string of the acts. It's just some sort of selected acts. That will be a very important criteria we can use to place a China. So let me get back to your first question. Liu Huaqing's book, of course, well encoded in Chinese. My description of his book as some sort of Chinese naval general's dream, because China has never been maritime power. Then we also suffer a lot from the Opium War over Japan's conquer over China, because all such threats came from the sea, came from the ocean. In the past 3,000 years, before the Opium War back to 1840, all the threats to the China came from northern nomads, right? From the northern inland, some sort of barbarians. Yeah. So then it's a big historical epic change of the China's identity of our geopolitical and geostrategical surroundings. So then, based on some sort of such a very, panic historical lesson, then some sort of Liu Huaqing's theory is an extension of China's some sort of a new dream. It's also coinciding with the China's growing physical capability. So then you will see the Chinese naval capability now is really, really building very, very fast. The reason is we have money. So Xi Jinping said we have bigger fiscal budgetary. So why not? We could just have said put more eggs into the basket of the naval build-up. So what worries me over the South China Sea issue is not territorial disputes. It's some sort of naval balance or imbalance driven.
Why do you need that one?
The reason is
see that China loves peace. Then you can have peaceful coexistence with the United States,
yeah,
and then you can make everybody happy.
yes, the problem is, I think that China is also some sort of a people. The people usually all suffer from some sort of imperfect humility. So then China is so easy to be seduced, or easy to be, we say, some sort of a tempted. So by some sort of such a fiscal, like impulse. So my theory is China's geopolitical impulse now is growing. But the problem is it does not mean that China's ground spirit will overwhelmingly just work on the geopolitical games because it's a no end run. So then another question, Chun, you must have mentioned. I think that China, don't take the China as some sort of moral example. China is a lending power. China now is grew up. So my theory was mentioned a couple of times. China's adolescent power. It's always impulsive, sometimes emotional. But it doesn't mean China now is highly motivated to be some sort of real challenge to the U.S. dominance. So then, my answer is China is imperfect. China is demoral. China is very material, realistic. So how gets the China's behavior well, we say, receptive? The most important thing is action and the reaction cycle. When
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Professor Okono, you have questions or comments? Comments.
미국 사람이라든가 중국 사람들이 하나의 자기들의 유니버설리즘 같은 거 가지고 있어서 우리하고 좀 다른 것 같습니다. 아까 좀 미국 사람 지정학 적인 사고 방식이 있다고 하셨는데 사실인 것 같습니다. 아까 내가 한반도 38선 이야기했을 때 조금 그것을 너무나 지정학적으로 설명했는데 좀 더 정확히 말하면 스탈리니즘은 아주 지정학적으로 자기 주변에 자기 나라 주변에 자기들이 영향력을 가질 수 있는 지역을 만들려고 했는데 미국 사람들이 한반도에 대해서 생각하는 건 그것과 전혀 다르고 어떻게 말하면 윌소니안 프린시플 그대로 카이로 선언 같은 것을 생각해서 하나의 그런 원칙적인 것이 실현돼야 한다. 그런데 지금 소련이 내려오면은 한반도는 포랑 비슷하게 되거라. 이게 그러니까 완전 지정학과 상관이 없는 거예요. 일가설리즘, 미국적인 이상주의적인 생각이에요. 그런데 그게 원폭이 생겼기 때문에 소련이 내려오는 것을 막을 수 있는 힘이 생겼기 때문에 그렇게 되었는데 이야기는 조금 다르겠을지 모르겠습니다. 하여튼 미국 사람들이 생각하는 지정학이라는 것은 지정학이 아닌 지정학, 유니버설리즘 혹은 뭐랄까 안타이 헤지모니, 다른 나라가 헤지모니를 가지는 것을 반대한다는 그런 것 같은 느낌인데, 그런데 하여튼 우리 중간 나라에서 보면은 하나의 유니버설리즘 혹은 아이솔레이셔니즘 같은 것은 그것도 어떻게 보면 역시 지정학적인 것이 있어서 중국이나 미국 같은 대국이 세계 중심에 있는 대국들이 가지는 사고방식이 아닌가. 도저히 우리는 중국 사람들이 중국의 금으로 이야기할 때 좀 무서웠어요. 생산 뚝을 그리고 세계적인 지금을 생각할 때 무섭게 생각하는 지금 이 보통적이라 하면 별로 무섭지 않습니다.
그거는 근데 그 유니버셜리즘이 아니고 제국의 멘탈리티입니다. 제국.
그러니까 그건
이-
비슷한 얘기죠.
그러니까 imperial impulse 얘기하는 건데 both China and the U.S. seem to have such a kind of imperial impulses. By the way, let me ask, okay, two finger.
Yeah.
Two finger. Okay.
Yeah, it just struck me, Okunogi Sensei's phrase of anti-hegemonism. You know, I've been reading Mike Green's book, A Big History of U.S. Strategy in Asia. And, you know, what it boils down to is the U.S. strategy has always been, since at least the open door policy at the turn of the century, no one gets to be a hegemon of the Asia Pacific. Anti-hegemonism is a good phrase for it. But then, of course, that does not apply to the United States itself, right? The United States is benevolent, so it can be a hegemon, but no one else can be a hegemon. And that's part of what we're seeing now, is the United States refuses to allow China to be what it's been for the Asia Pacific.
Okay, Charlie, two finger. I have question for you.
You can give me a question first, and I can collectively respond.
So that you can make a two finger intervention first, then I will raise questions to you.
All right, thank you. I'm not a China specialist, but when Robert Kaplan wrote about the revenge of geopolitics, I think the fundamental premise is that China is no longer a land power. It's changing into maritime power. That's the kind of thing. And then I think that the same logic is developed by what Ross you put together until 1999. He thought that China is not a threat, never a threat to the United States or global order because China will remain as a land power. So it's a kind of managing internal affairs in the land mass is very difficult. So China will never come out. But actually, the Robert Ross himself wrote that the kind of a naval nationalism, right? So it's a kind of it's thinking that he himself changed the logic, and then China is getting into a maritime arena. Well, of course, out of nationalism, of some kind of aspiration, but still, anyway, nobody denies that China is showing more and more interest in the maritime arena. Have reasons, not only money. So trade and the coastal areas are all covered by the maritime arena. So that's the reason why, rather than just combining Chinese strategy as a coastal defense, going into the anti-assassin area denial, covers the first island chain area. That gives a kind of a different signal to the neighboring country and the United States at the same time that, oh, China is getting into the maritime arena more and more aggressively than before. So I don't think that China is a status quo power anymore. But China is definitely not a revisionist power in a sense that they are trying to overturn the global order led by the United States. But I think that China is definitely acting as a gradual modifier. You want to modify the regional, especially maritime order little by little. The focus is led more on the modification nowadays rather than gradual. If it is a kind of gradual move, possibly we can adapt to the situation.
Since Charlie, you're a Japan specialist, let me ask you this question. Okay. In December 2012, Abe was inaugurated as a prime minister. If you look at his behavior, diplomatic behavior, he began to visit Vietnam, Thailand, India, Turkey, and all the way Eastern European countries. If you look at the pattern, really, what Abe had in mind is kind of encirclement of China. And some scholars like Inoguchi Takashi describe it as Abe doctrine. Why Abe not doing that? I don't understand.
Actually, I use the term encirclement of China strategy, but the Japanese leaders and the scholars deny that. No, we don't want to. We don't have that much capability to encircle China. So please don't worry.
Here, we see the very interesting irony here. Okay, China always talk about peace, but many times China doesn't show peaceful behavior. Japan, oh no encirclement of China. China is big, yet trying to encircle China.
But certain, there's a kind of unspoken premise is definitely there. They think China, expect the Chinese assertive behavior is a threat to them, so they don't deny that China is a threat. At least a big challenge to Japan. And China is rather than a cooperative.
What kinds of threat China see?
Okay.
I don't see threat from coming from China, but Chinese people always see threat.
If you just
But he's like an invisible man. The threats are invisible, but Japanese are very good at looking at those invisible threats.
I think we have to ask Jeju-Porum, but the protecting the sea lines of communication, especially in the South China Sea and the Malacca Strait to Indian Ocean, is a critical lifeline of
As
Japanese
ever China threatened
Yeah.
the sea lines of communication
China.
coming from Indian Ocean, Malacca Strait, South China Sea, and East China Sea.
Not only South China Sea, I read
But
that
tell me any single
Yeah,
evidence
okay, I will
that
see.
China did.
It's not just the South China Sea, but if you see at the sea, East China Sea, if you read Japan's defense white paper carefully from 2006 to now, you can see that Japan is recording all the movement of a single Chinese ship every day. And then they have statistics. From 2008, it became much more active. From 2010 and 2012, drastically increasing, especially the areas surrounding so-called the Senkaku Islands, so the East China Sea. So they see that as China is not just acting much more aggressive and massively than before. So that I think it's understandable that
Japan and the U.S. have been increasing its military maneuver too.
Yes.
And China, Japan.
That's only because of North Korea.
Okay. Now, okay. Tufan, how do you respond to the Chinese, argument? China has been showing really challenging behavior in, East China Sea. Therefore, Japan has been responding to it.
Yeah, I see, as I mentioned, so my theory is China is not just, a power in some sort of, warm house, right? Some sort of real weather driven China's response usually is some sort of leading reflection of the China's some sort of a policy thinking and making. So then, for example, the U.S. policy of China has also become very important in the development to rescout the China's policy response. So back to the, for example, middle of the 90s, then we will see America's policy debate about China. So it's a containing China, or it's just engaging China. Of course, when some words of containing China is also, we say, indispensable nightmare for Chinese. So we have to think ourselves, particularly with China's industrialization going on. So we have a more budgetary income. So then the capability of spend money is really, really high. Then another one is China-Japan. Then you mentioned the Tian Islands. Yes, for Liu Huaqing, they consider it will be some sort of last resort for China to assure ourselves when we can get out of the island chain. Because island chain is very solidly encirclement to China. But the problem is, my theory is very counter-ugly. It's not how to break in the island chain. It's not depending on how strong China's navy. Depending on what? On how smart China's diplomacy. So breaking the island chain finally or ultimately just depends on the China's some sort of, we say, islands dismissing diplomacy. If the Japan and the Korean also just a little bit away from the U.S. and consider China as more trustable, then that will be the very, very trustable way or very reliable way for China to get out of the island chain.
Response.
And I will say one ironical thing. This conception of a first island chain and second island chain has developed by Japanese admirals in the late 1980s, the 19th century. It's not Chinese conception. So they're looking at that situation from the other way around. They were saying that in the past, in order to have Japanese security, you have to protect China at the first island chain. If not, at least you have to defend Japan at the second island chain. But so as they conceive that conception, they see Chinese bear from the different angle. Wow, China is not just it's not satisfied at the coastal defense anymore. they are coming out to the first island chain, and sometimes crossing over to passing the first island chain. So possibly they are coming out to the second island chain. When I talk to the Japanese strategy, very interesting thing is that we know that China is trying to reach second island chain by 2049. If China does it like reaching second island chain little by little, according to and following the rules of the game, rules-based international order, fine, we can adapt to the situation. But China is hurrying up too much, and very aggressive. So whether we can cope with that kind of a very rapid change and then an aggressive behavior, that is a kind of very worrisome sign for many, not just Japan, for United States.
Yeah, one point I want to add is look at the China's geographical surroundings. It's really, really, very daily unfavorable to China. But every time the China's Navy and China's jet fighters don't want to navigate over to the high sea, we must start getting through Miyako Strait or some sort of such an international maritime action. But for Chinese, we have no choice but to. Just how they move through those Miyako Strait or something like that. So that kind of the tension is inevitably and even just inherently just existing. So if we just keep the eyes looking on how China move in some sort of big bunch, getting, we say navigating through that kind of very sensitive straits, I think the future things will be getting grimmer.
Would you turn on the microphone? 오코노 선생님 일본 분이시지만 그러니까 제가 이렇게 어레인지 했습니다. 박철희 교수는 한국 분이지만 일본에 더 가깝기 때문에 일본 전문가로 모셨고 오코노 선생님은 일본 분이지만 한국에 너무 오래 다녀오고 다녔기 때문에 지금 한국 전문가로 모셨습니다. 근데 오코노 선생님한테는 여쭤보고 싶은 게 한스 모겐스의 책을 보면은 그 재미있는 부분이 있어요. 그 세력 균형, 밸런스 파워를 얘기할 때 대표적인 사례를 우리 코리안 페니슐라, 한반도를 들고 있습니다. 그래서 강대국 사이에 끼어 있는 한반도는 항상 강대국 정치의 비극, the tragedy of great power politics가 된다고 얘기하고 그걸 뭐 미르샤이머 같은 친구들도 원용해서 그걸 얘기하는데. 정말 남과 북이 아까 오코노 선생님이 말씀하신 그 남과 북이 독자적으로 평화를 못 만들까요? 우리가 미국이나 중국을 배제할 수 없을까요?
남과 북이 경쟁 대립 가능한 평화안정이 여기 나오지 않습니다. 그렇죠?
근데 남과 북이 독자적으로 지금 전쟁 상태를 극복할 수는 없을까요?
나는 없다고 생각하잖아요. 왜냐하면은 역사적으로 봐서 북한이 역시 자기들이 체제 멸망하기를 두려워해서 개발을 시작한 것이니까 냉전 끝났을 때 그거 보면은 서론도 없어지고 동그라빠도 체제 전환하고 중국까지 자본주의 도입하고 하는 동안에 북한이라는 나라도 없어질 수 있었고 그 당시에 가장 어려웠던 시기가 아니었습니까? 김정일 시대. 그러니까 그 사람들이 그것으로서 살아남기 위해서 첫 번째 로얄 패밀리 물론 살아야 하고 다음에 제재를 살아야 하고 나라를 살아야 하고 그리고 이데올로지를 지켜야 하고 그런 식으로 해서 핵개발을 시작한 것이 아닙니까? 그러니까 그런 두려움이 있는 한 그리고 진짜 멸망해버리면 그것도 하나의 해법인지는 모르겠습니다. 그렇게 되면 하나가 되는데 그런데 남북한 관계라는 건 나는 오랫동안 지금 봤지만 그쪽 나름대로의 정보성을 가지고 있어서 시스템을 가지고 있기 때문에 한 적이 이길 수는 없습니다. 3발선이라는 것도 3크선이면 몰라도 3발선 3칠선이면 몰라도 3발선이니까 그래서 안 되는 거죠. 분당 계속하는 할 수밖에 없는 상황이기 때문에 서로가 그 상황으로서 특히 외국 압력을 느껴서 자기들끼리 독일적인 나셔널리즘을 기여한다 그렇게 생각할 때까지는 이 문제는 해결 안 합니다.
자, 이제는 플로우로 가겠습니다. Please identify yourself. Now I will open it to the floor. Okay, questions? Minister Young? 여기 마이크로폰 여기 있습니다. 여기 이쪽. 이쪽으로 빨리 가세요. George was Foreign Minister of Singapore.
Was some years ago.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Singapore as a country takes no position on territorial claims to the South China Sea. But in Singapore, when the British were the colonial power, there were Chinese schools which used textbooks from the KMT government. And all those textbooks had the 9-9. So Chinese educated Singaporeans grew up feeling that those islands and reefs belong to China. So I think this is a deeply held view. When Japan, after the Marco Polo Bridge incident, invaded China, it carefully avoided Hong Kong because it was British. But Japan occupied those islands as part of China and administered them from Kaohsiung. After the war, when the Civil War broke out, the US helped the KMT government send troops onto those islands. And I believe the biggest island, Taiping Island, is named after the US ship, which ferried the KMT to those islands. So I think the Chinese feel a deep sense of grievance that there's now an attempt to deny them of a claim they inherited from the KMT government. If it's just a local matter, in fact, the Chinese take a very practical approach. I was in the defense ministry, in the Air Force, in the early 80s, when Malaysia mounted a very secret occupation of the reefs. They call it the Rombo Line. We were monitoring it because Singapore and Malaysia have a certain relationship. And then they succeeded in quickly building structures on the reef. So I was waiting for a Chinese protest. There was no protest from China. And years later, a few years ago, when between Malaysia and Brunei, they demarcated the EEZ within the 9-9. Again, China said nothing. So I think if it's just a regional matter, China, in fact, it's a tactical approach. But the moment larger powers come in, from Japan or the US, then they bristle. And in some ways, the more the US conducts these patrols, the more it gives China a justification to armor those islands.
That's a good point. Jeju-Forum. But let me ask in this way. Maybe I will ask in a actually. Isn't South China Sea an American lake? What did you take? Your take?
I don't think that's an American lake. It's not a lake anyway, that's a sea. So,
No, 9-9 line created lake-like shape there.
the thing is that if only China claims over the 9 islands, that should be fine. But there are other countries that claim that that's their islands. So if that is the case, I think they have to follow the rules of the game into international society to reclaim it.
So I believe China has been following international norms and rules. Okay, Jeju-Forum, John Larry, and Professor Okinoge has any comments on that, you can do it, okay?
I think so. Back to 1947 and 48, when the Nanjing government drew the 9-9 and made it announced and claimed internationally, no one objected. We also have archive evidence. US said, yes, please go ahead. And now, the U.S. led the international team and protested the non-national society. It's totally illegal. So for Chinese, it's another grievance. It's a grievance coming from geopolitics. Because back to 1947-48, China was most trustable Asian ally to the U.S. But today, what's for China for U.S.? China becomes strategic competitor. So America's approach over the South China Sea totally changed. So then China's geopolitical impulse also came from some sort of sequential outcome, how the other powers react to China.
Okay. John?
Yeah, well, that's a great anecdote, Mr. Yeo. And just to add to that, because I've been doing some research on that period as well, but it also raises some of, I think, the problems. Another part of that debate in that period when the United States briefly thought, oh, maybe Chiang Kai-shek is going to get his act together, and of course there had been a long debate about can China be a great power for Asia, all predicated on not a communist China, but a nationalist China. You can also find Okinawa coming up in that same context, and debates about, if you read materials from that period, American China experts or Asia experts will list Japan, Okinawa, not as if they're the same thing. There's a real, and of course Okinawa's, where it stood was unclear and was under American de facto control. So, and I've heard a briefing from, an official briefing from part of the very high level part of the Chinese government laying out a historical case for why the Ryukyu should not belong to Japan, and how Japan's sovereignty claim is weak. And that was in 2012, in that kind of high period. So now we would all laugh at the idea, China would never claim Okinawa. But in 2050, that might not be a funny conversation. So I'm not taking a side either, but we have to be careful about, the question is, where does this process end as China's power increases and as they find other claims? So we find in 1947 Chiang Kai-shek set a 9-dash line and the United States didn't say no. Well, what other claims are there that they can pull back up?
Ambassador Funny, you might have some comments or questions.
Well, I do actually.
She's a New Zealand ambassador to Seoul.
This it relates to the conversation that we're having now, but maybe takes it back a step and looks philosophically, I suppose. What does rule of law look like in this region and globally in 30 or 40 years' time? There's been an international architecture, international norms, a system put in place in the period since World War II. We can argue about the content of some of the rules of the road. We can argue about the dominance of particular players in forming that international architecture. But putting that question aside, because we're assuming that the content will continue to evolve, we have now new major players coming in and influencing the content in a way that they weren't influencing content in 1946 in San Francisco. The world has changed. But what does rule of law look like in this part of the world in particular, because that's where my country is living? What does it look like in 30 or 40 years' time? We've had a system that's been dominated by a common law outlook where written law, rule of law, sacrosanct. I know that it's imperfect, incomplete, hasn't been fully implemented, has been shaped by the single hegemon of the past half century. But in this evolving world, what does rule of law look like? And I'm interested, Drew Dushall, I'd be very interested to hear your view, but also the views of others, because I see the debate playing out domestically in China between rule of law, rule by law, and then I wonder, what does that look like projected onto an international stage?
Okay, we have a very interesting international relations theorist. His name is Alex Wen, and he gave us 3 regions of international anarchy. One is the Kantian anarchy, another one is Hobbesian anarchy, the last one is the Lockean anarchy. Let me ask you, Hobbesian anarchy is all against all. Kantian anarchy means anarchy which is based in peace. And third one is peace and conflict coexist. Let me ask each other. 오코노 선생님, 앞으로 20, 30년 후에 이 지역이 법과 규범이 지배하는 지역이 되겠습니까? 아니면 완전 혼돈 속에 빠지는 폭기한 나라가 되겠습니까? 단답형입니다. Yes, no.
중간이죠.
로키안, Professor Okonomist is in a Lockean order, peace and conflict coexisting.
우리 일본은 세 가지 영토 문제를 가지고 있습니다. 그 냉전 시대는 소련하고 빵연도 영토, 노전 테리토리 프로빈스 가지고 있어서 센각 중국 사이, 다케시마 독도 한. 근데 이게 그 일본 외교를 얼마나 고정화 시켜버리는가. 아마도 생각 문제에 있어서 중국이 생각 영토라고 해서 여러 가지 압력을 가하면 할수록 일본 사람들이 미국에 일해서 미국 동맹이 강해집니다. 그러니까 하면 할수록 중국 외교가 원치 않는 방향으로 일본 갈 것이야. 그렇지 말고 역시 법치주의로 해야 한다고 나도 생각합니다.
Which one?
What about Burke? Can I have Burke?
Edmund Burke.
I like Burke.
Have your own theory of Edmund Burke.
No theory, I just choose Burke. I just don't want to complicate. No, but I would say just really quickly that, again, sort of from an American perspective, I mean, when we talk about rule of law, the real test is will countries, and it's especially tests for the most powerful countries, will they play by the rules even when it means they're going to lose that round? Or do they throw over the table like my kids do and say, we're not playing this game because I lost? And I think part of what we're seeing with Trump is, then I'm not interested in rules and we don't want to do agreements because we're losing and we're Americans and we want to be winners and I'm a winner. We're going to win wars, we're going to win trade relationships. And so you're seeing a very fundamental philosophical challenge, even though it's not put very philosophically, to rule of law. Because no, it's not my interest, I'm not going to do it. So I think, can't answer your question, but to some degree it depends on how long this phenomenon lasts. If Trump and that dimension of him is epiphenomenal, then it could look similar. And China follows the John Eikenberry mode where more or less becomes roughly like the United States. Then things in 50 years could look more or less like they do now. But there are certainly other possibilities.
Yeah, I think the future maybe some sort of mixed story of the rule of law and the geopolitics. So we couldn't just say either side of that kind of things. But I think hypothetically, rule of law is not absolutist, some sort of principle. So rule of law, if we put it into international context in the past 400 years, it's always been up and downs. It's always, just involving some sort of a modification and a revival or something like that. So then the key testing ground for the rule of law is not how such a rule could just maintain or persist. Most important thing is what law will be hanging on internationally. Then another one is, for example, China. I see rule of law, of course, is a leading way China could ensure the international games, almost in all the terms. China's involvement into the WTO is a very shining example. China spent 16 years struggling on the term of the WTO entrance, but after that, look at this, China will become some sort of a very free players within the WTO's framework. So then, uncross maybe will be another case if China could get ourselves fully, adapted. Then I see China will become a very, full-hearted player of the some sort of uncross. So then rule of law actually included two possible stories. One is normative, another is, we say, some sort of constitutive. I mean, what kind of power could it just a sharing, what sort of a norm could be fully applied. It's a very nuanced and delicate, process.
Absolutely.
Okay, possibly in the mindset in the hearts of the national leaders, it sounds like the kind of option they really wanted to have it. But actually, they cannot settle the problem in that way. If you want to settle it like that, I think we may need Leviathan, who has a kind of dominant power in his army that can rule over the other countries. Listen to me, or read my lips. But I don't think whether that is the kind of reality in 30 or 50 years. Another thing is just a kind of really option, like rule by force and domination. Okay, challenge if you can. So that's what that will be. But this is not a colonial era. I don't think any country can do it. So ultimately, there is no choice but to rely on rule of law because multiple parties are engaged in territorial dispute or whatever. So, but one point I want to add up is, like international order, international law is not stagnant. We didn't see a kind of maritime law like 1994 in the past.
Okay, Don Cook, international journalist.
Thank you. So there's some talk here about the unpredictability of Donald Trump. I get the impression, though, that he's pulled back from some of his stronger statements, and that Defense Secretary Mattis, Secretary of State Tillerson, and General McMaster as well are kind of reining him in, and that actually his policy now seems to be really a continuation of Obama's policy. I wonder whether some of the panelists might comment on that.
And he withdrew from the Paris Accord on climate change.
No, I'm talking about
in this part of the world.
specifically in this region.
Maybe John, you can answer that one.
Well, yeah. Again, the first day in office, he killed TPP, so that was that did eviscerate the pivot. So I don't think there's continuity there. There is de facto continuity in his North Korea approach because he doesn't have any approach yet, and so he's continuing for now the failed approach of the Obama administration. But I mean, I didn't actually say he's unpredictable. And I mentioned that there's this debate you referenced about, but we have Mattis and McMaster. But no, I would say it's pretty clear he rejects liberal internationalism, and I think that's our topic here. And in that sense, he fits with the revenge of the geopolitical. And these gentlemen, Mattis, McMaster. I mean, if you're hanging your hope on Asian Pacific liberal internationalism on them, I think that's a cause for reflection. I mean, not to denigrate them, but it's the CENTCOM cabinet. They're focused on fighting wars in the Middle East. They're mad that they never got to take the war to Iran. They're not, they're not people who are going to. That's right. I thought it was my daughter for a second. They're not going to. I don't see them as changing Trump's direction in terms of being a pillar for liberal principles here.
Can I?
Okay.
I think the Trump's policy is not just a kind of the antithesis to Obama, but it's a kind of he's definitely trying to modify the liberal international order that the United States advocates so far in three ways. One, rather than relying on alliance based on shared responsibility, he's trying to change it to an alliance based on shared money, shared costs. And then rather than relying on free trade principle itself, he's shifting to managed policy or fair trade. Third, rather than a kind of the ideas shared, a kind of relying on values and norms, interest-oriented the coalition. So it's a kind of. So I think he's modifying the liberal international order in a fundamental way.
It was very interesting. Professor Khan, make a very quick question or comment. Okay, time is up.
예, 오공의 마사 교수 오랜만에 뵙습니다.
Professor Kang Young,
예, 저희
National
대학교
University.
앞에서 북한 핵 문제 해결할 때에 이제 먼저 평화 체제를 이루고 그래야 핵 문제 해결된다는 말씀하셨는데 우리 쪽에서는 이런 생각합니다. 만약에 선평화 체제를 이루게 되면 이 주한미군이 결국은 철수하게 되고 그럴 때 북한이 핵무기를 갖고 있기 때문에 상당히 불안하다. 믿을 수가 없다 이거죠. 그렇기 때문에 선비핵화를 이루고 그 다음에 한반도 평화체제가 이루어야 된다 이런 이제 생각을 많이 하는데 그거에 대해서 어떻게 생각하십니까? 말씀 하나 드리고
하나만.
네, 고맙습니다.
제가 아까 말씀드린 그 구체적인 이야기가 아니기 때문에 아이디어로서 이야기하는 것인지 미군이 없어도 된다든가 종화체제라는 북한이 주장하는 종화체제 그렇게 생각하지 마시죠. 그런 거 아니고 제가 한 거 아주 한정적인 이야기인데 비핵화를 먼저 하려고 해도 그거 어렵더라. 그러니까 단계적으로 해야 하는데 그것이 한반도 남북한의 평화적으로 공존할 수 있는가? 그 평화 공존 내용은 따지지 마시죠. 미군이 있어도 되느냐, 북한이 핵을 가지고 있는가 그런 이야기를 하는 게 아니라 우선 단계적으로 할 수밖에 없다. 단계적으로 한다면 첫 번째 하는 건 지금 하고 있는 핵 미사일 개발을 등교를 해서 그것을 구체적으로 감시할 수 있는 체제를 만들어야 한다는 것입니다. 그런데 그뿐 아니라 그것과 같이 남북한에서 역시 교류 협력이라는 것이 있어야 한다고 생각합니다. 그렇게 해야 2단계까지 갈 수 있는 것이죠. 2단계는 아주 오래 걸릴 것입니다. 그 단계에 있어서 아마 한 세대 정도, 20년 정도 있어야 핵을 버릴 수도 있는 단계까지 북한 사람들이 갈 수 있을 거라. 그 단계에서 또 어떻게 북한 경제를 개발한다든가 개발시킨다든가 그런 문제는 따로 자세히 생각해야 하는 이야기죠. 미군이 어떻게 하는가 그런 이야기는 따로 생각해야 하는 일인데 그것을 지금부터 이렇게 하라는 식으로 할 수는 없습니다. 마지막 단계에 가서 평화적으로 공존해서 어느 정도 남북 관계가 안정화되어서 안정적인 관계를 유지할 수 있다. 앞으로도 평화적으로 공존할 수 있다. 그래야 북한 사람들이 핵을 부리죠. 그러니까 연합제라고 하는지 연반체라고 하는지 모르지만 그런 관계가 남북 간에 성립될 때야말로 핵을 뽑지 않다.
감사합니다. 그러니까 오늘 토론에서 저는 조금 더 싸움이 있기를 바랬는데 사드 문제도 안 다루고 뭐 영토 문제도 안 다루고 이렇게 하면서 결국에 히트 디베이트가 없었다라고 하는 게 오늘 우리 라운드 패널의 낙제점이 아닌가 이렇게 생각이 됩니다. 그럼에도 불구하고 아주 상당히 통찰력 있는 이런 발언을 말씀해 줬기 때문에 제가 반전을 시켜서 B 플러스는 주도록 하겠습니다. 그러나 오늘 메시지는 이런 것 같습니다. 첫째는 지정학이라고 하는 게 지금 얘기 들어보니까 실제 존재하는 것보다는 이제 contrived, 임의적으로 만든 것 아니냐 하는 이런 느낌이 돼요. Geopolitics is not real, but contrived. 두 번째 느끼는 거는 결국에 뭐냐, 이게 미중, 일중 이런 강대국 사이에 그 mistrust, distrust 이게 상당히 센 것 같아요. 그러니까 이제 there is kind of amplified spiraling of negative chain reactions of perceptions among major powers. 그러니까 이게 상당히 큰 문제라고 보고요. 우리 한반도 경우는 저는 목공희 선생님 말씀에 동의하는 게 강대국 결정론, 세력균형 결정론에서 벗어나야 된다라고 하는 느낌. 그럼 남과 북이 정신을 바로 차려야 된다는 얘기가 되겠습니다. 마지막으로 우리 번니 대사님께서 말씀하신 rule of law, 또 norm, 이 문제는 저는 이렇게 생각합니다. It's not whether there should be rule of law or norms with regard to freedom of navigation. It is must. There must be normative commitment to make that happen, that last. I think that is the most important lesson for all of us. Here comes the importance of civil society. Civil society should raise a voice and make sure that there would not be any kind of politicization of freedom of navigation out of this whole fictional conflict of the future. With this remark, I will conclude this session. Thank you very much.
Yeah.